Prime Minister Boris Johnson has outlined his plans for easing lockdown restrictions to Parliament this afternoon. Our reporter Emma Payton has been listening into this.
Yeah, I have indeed. We had a little glimpse of Boris just there, but he's been speaking in the House of Commons this afternoon, revealing what he calls his roadmap out of lockdown. He'll also address the nation this evening, 7 o'clock, his news conference live from Downing Street. And I feel like a lot of people will be glued to the TV for this one, really, because it really feels like there's finally some light at the end of the tunnel. Worth saying, while I was listening in, the Prime Minister's message, very much one of caution. He stressed that the government would make decisions based on the latest data at every step. But he did say he believes this is a one-way road to freedom and the end is very much in sight. Now, we're going to talk about the return of non-elite sport in just a moment, but you mentioned it there, the positive news about the return of fans. This is what everyone wants to hear, isn't it? The Prime Minister outlining today that fans are set to return to sporting events from Monday, May the 17th. That, of course, would mean, Tom, that the final weekend of the Premier League, which is on Sunday, May the 23rd, could potentially be played in front of a limited number of fans. Good news for the EFL as well, with the playoff finals for Championship, League One and League Two held the weekend of May the 29th. In terms of how many, we'll of course keep you updated when we know more on this, but Boris Johnson did say we could see at bigger stadiums up to 10,000 people or stadiums a quarter full, basically whichever is lower. The FA Cup final is of course set to be played on May the 15th, so 2 days before that May the 17th date, but that could potentially be used as a test event. The Carabao Cup final, of course, which we know between Manchester City and Spurs was moved from February to April the 25th, looks to have come just too soon. But I think we can hear now what Boris Johnson had to say about this.
Step 3 will begin no earlier than the 17th of May. Provided the data satisfies the 4 tests, most restrictions on meetings outdoors will be lifted, subject to a limit of 30, and this is the point when you will be able to see your friends and family indoors, subject to the Rule 6 or the meeting of 2 households. We will also reopen pubs and restaurants indoors, along with cinemas and children's play areas, hotels, hostels and B&Bs, theatres and concert halls will reopen their doors. And the turnstiles of our sports stadia will once again rotate, subject in all cases to capacity limits depending on the size of the venue. And we will pilot larger events using enhanced testing with the ambition of further easing of restrictions in the next step.
Yeah, so that, of course, well, really positive news about fans returning to sporting events. But what did Boris Johnson say about the return of non-elite sport? Because, of course, we know that elite sport has continued, but amateur and non-elite sport has been suspended. Now, as we thought and as Sky News were reporting, outdoor sports facilities, that's golf courses, tennis clubs, tennis courts, basketball courts, will reopen in England from the 29th of March. Of course, they've been closed since the 3rd lockdown was announced on the 4th of January. So, look, it is a little while away, but it's really good news. Elsewhere, organised adult and children's sport, such as grassroots football, also will resume on March the 29th. And again, good news. I say it's a little while away, but it is good news because around, 2 million people play amateur football regularly, and that includes almost half of 11 to 15-year-olds. So, good news, like I say. And Boris Johnson also talked about the return of, pupils going back to schools across all years from March the 8th. That is 2 weeks today. So after-school sports, after-school activities will resume from then. This is what Boris Johnson had to say about non-elite sport getting back up and running.
Outdoor sports facilities such as tennis and basketball courts and open-air swimming pools will be able to reopen, and formally organised outdoor sports will resume subject to guidance. From this point, 29th of March, people will no longer be legally required to stay at home, but many lockdown restrictions will remain.
Yeah, so again, look, positive news. I will just mention gyms as well, because a lot of people, of course, want to know when they'll be reopening their doors. Gyms and swimming pools set to reopen on April the 12th. I think a lot of people probably hoping it was a little bit sooner than that. We know the health and fitness sector has been, well, one of the worst hit industries since the initial outbreak of coronavirus in 2020. But look, there is a date now, and like I said before, light at the end of the tunnel. I will just mention as well, that's of course England. Elsewhere in the UK, Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon is scheduled to make a statement to the Scottish Parliament tomorrow afternoon. That's on Scotland's route out of lockdown. In Wales, at the moment, the stay-at-home message has been extended for another 3 weeks. That's until at least March the 12th. And in Northern Ireland, lockdown has been extended until the 1st of April, with a review of current measures on the 18th of March. Of course, we'll be across all of that when we have more on Sky Sports News. But look, in terms of England, it is positive news regarding the gradual sort of lifting of measures. But of course, a cautious approach is being taken.